Okay, and welcome back, students who are taking math for business and finance and math applications. And we are working on the Chapter 22 word problems. And these are the additional assignment problems. They weren't assigned as part in the digital study guide, but I'm including them here for those who want or need extra practice on this because they are a little bit more difficult concepts, this here statistic stuff. So I'm going to work through the rest of the word problems, and you saw me work through number 5, and in the last video you saw me work through number 6. Now I'm going to pick up with number 7 here, and again, if you don't understand something, watch the video again, until you get it, or telephone and speak with an instructor. Emailing is not going to help you be able to understand this. You need to have a two-way conversation. But for problem number 7, this here is this problem here. It says an examination is normally distributed with, so normally distributed meaning it's under the bell curve, okay, with a mean score of 77. So this mean score is 77, and a standard deviation of 6, okay, which means one standard deviation is 6, two standard deviations is 12, 3 is 18, right? So if I have 77 and plus or minus one standard deviation, which is 6, that's going to give me a range. That's going to give me either 71, because 77 minus 6 is 71, or 77 plus 6 is 83, right? So that's what one standard deviation would look like around the mean, okay? So those are the hard numbers. Now, I'm not, I did include another, graph here, but I'm not going to be using the graph as much. All right, I'm actually going to just work through the problems, because remember, now we're asking for, find the percent of individual scoring as indicated below, and if we know how much one standard deviation is, okay. Let's see here. I'm sorry. This here should actually say 71, not 70. Okay. Let me make sure I get the rest of the numbers right. Less than 65. Okay. All right. So, if we know that, plus or minus one standard deviation is 71 to 83, okay, and we know that one standard deviation, all right, let me write this down, one standard deviation is 34%, and the second standard deviation is an additional 13.5%. Okay. We also know that above or below the mean is 50%. Okay. Those are really the figures that, the percentages that you need. So when you're looking here and you're saying, okay, this here is between 71 and 83, well, if I know one standard deviation is 71 and one standard deviation is 73, all I need to do is just add 34%, because it's one standard deviation, plus another standard deviation, so that my range falls within 68%. Okay, let me give you the visual for it. But this here you should be starting to see in your mind's eye. Okay, so this is 77, and if I have one standard deviation right here, okay, is 6 points, and one standard deviation is 6 points here, that means one standard deviation here is actually 71, and this one is 83. So it's asking what's between here and here, okay? Well, 34 plus 34 is 68%. Okay? And that's how we arrived at that answer, 68. Okay? So write that down. I'm erasing this. Actually, I'll do it this way. 34% plus 34% is 68%. Okay, so that's, pay attention to the words. These are word problems. It says between 71 and 83. Between 71 and 83. Not less than, okay, and not greater than, right? It's between, right here, okay? Again, between 83 and 65. Well, we just did 83, so we're looking at 34% for that. But now let's look at the 65. So let me go down to this here and erase that. So we know this is 6. Well, actually, let me just do it like this. A standard deviation is equal to 6. Okay, 6 points. So for one standard deviation, that's 71. And for the second standard deviation, right, 71 minus 6 is 65. Okay, so we know we're 2 standard deviations out. So this here is 1 standard deviation at 83. And this one here is at 80, is the second standard deviation is at 89. Okay, so the problem was asking us between 65 and 83. Well, in that area right there, we have 34, 34, and 13.5. 34 plus 34 plus 13.5. So 68 plus, get my calculator. 68 plus 13.5 is 82.5% is between 65 and 83. Okay? It's really that simple. Just thinking about a little bit about what is being, whether you're above, below, or between those particular numbers, then just seeing what the percentages are and adding them up. So that's 82.5%. All right, C is above 89. Okay, go back to the graph. Oh, I went up, I should go down. There we go. I should go down and be erasing some of this here. Okay. Okay, so that's 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations is 65. Okay, so now it said, the question said above 89. Okay, the word above is important. Why? Because here's our 89, which is 2 standard deviations. Okay, and it's asking for this area all in here. What's above the 89? So what's above 89? Well, below 77 is 50%. Okay, and then we have a 34, and then we have 13.5. So all of that area here, all of this area here is 50 plus 34 plus 13.5. So that's 84 plus 13.5 is 97.5%. But it's not asking us what's below 89, it's asking us what's above the 89. Well, underneath the whole curve, it's 100%, right? So I take 100% minus what I know is below the curve of 97.5, and that gives me an answer of 2.5%. Okay, so I have 100% minus the 50% plus the 34% plus the 13.5%, which gives me 97.5%. So 100 minus 97.5% means I have 2.5% above the 89. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing here for D, which is less than 65. Okay, I just looked at it, and because I did the B and I did C, I know that D is exactly the same as 89. Why? It's just the opposite side of the spectrum. Okay. Here's our 65, and it's asking for less than. Okay, well, 65 is 2 standard deviations, just like 89 was 2 standard deviations. Well, if the area above 89 is 2.5%, the area below 65 also has to be 2.5%, right? Because it's just the flip side of the same coin. Everything under the curve is 50 plus 34 plus, I'm sorry, it's the wrong 50. Everything under the curve, let me do it in blue here. Everything under the curve, right? This here whole side is 50%, right? This here whole side plus 34 plus 13.5, same thing, comes out to 97.5. And we subtract it from 100, right, to get our answer of 2.5. That's the remaining portion, 2.5%, less than 65. Okay, so D is the same calculation as C. Right? Now, E, it says, again, we're into between 77 and 65. Remember, 65 is 2 standard deviations, okay? And 77 is the mean, right? 77 is the mean. So what's between those two, right? Well, if I'm 2 standard deviations, that's 34% for one standard deviation plus 13.5 for the second standard deviation, or 47.5%. Okay. Notice I did that without using the bell curve, okay, without using the picture. Why? Because I know that 77 is the mean, and in my mind I know what that looks like. Okay, I know that's the middle right up here. That's this middle right up here, right? And I know that I'm looking at 65, which is over here, which was 2 standard deviations. Okay, well, the first one is 34, the second one is 13.5. Okay, so the area between these two, and I saw this in my mind. Okay, I didn't have to use the curve, but I'm going to explain it one more time here using the curve. And again, it's a matter of paying attention to what's being asked. Okay. You have to pay attention to the terminology so that you know what you're looking at. 77 is the mean. One standard deviation is 6 points off, and it was telling us 65, right? Well, 77 minus 65 is 12, and we're dividing it by a standard deviation of 6, which means I'm 2 standard deviations off. That's how I know where the 65 goes. And the question is asking me what's between 65 and 77. What's this area right in here? Right? Well, that area right in there is the 34 for one standard deviation, 13.5 for the other. So 34 plus 13.5 is 47.5 as the percentage between 65 and 77. Okay, I hope I covered that enough. And again, go back and watch this video and watch the previous one and number 5 also in order to be able to better grasp it. And if you still don't understand something, definitely telephone and speak with an instructor. Okay, see you in the next video for problem number 8.